Hey guys, welcome to Coder Foundry. It's Kevin's popped on early today,
It's because there's three of us today.
and I'm late.
Yeah.
So I was working on something, Kevin, something hot. So you
Okay. And I
saw you
haven't seen it
saw
yet. We haven't even talked about it, so I have no
yeah.
idea what you were working on.
So I'm a presenter at a users group, and you're going to see a first little peek at what our online course is going to look like because I'm presenting one of the projects in the to this group in
Oh,
Memphis
cool.
called Movie Pro.
Okay, I'm familiar with. Okay, the movie Pro. I know. Okay.
Yeah, this is a Movie Pro with C Sharp, and I'm making custom movie posters.
Oh, okay. I saw. Okay, that's it. I saw your thing in the teachers channel on Teams last night. I meant
I
to. I meant
did.
to comment. But
I
it's
did. You
funny.
didn't give me any comments, so it's pretty
I
funny.
didn't.
So
No. It was good. I saw it late.
yeah,
So no, I like this idea. I think
yeah,
your idea. And I'm not going to spoil it, but I think
no,
it's genius.
yeah.
I think it's very smart.
So I'm making the second one this morning, and it was 11:57. I looked up. I'd been in Photoshop land for a couple hours this morning. So
That's
I was
funny.
late.
And me and our guest are here just chatting away, which I'm going to bring our guest in.
Yeah, go
So
ahead, bring him in.
our guest is Ben Patton, and you might be
Hey
familiar
Ben,
with
how you
Ben.
doing?
I'm good. How are y'all? Thanks for having me.
No, it's good. So
Awesome.
we
Good. Yeah.
haven't met
Thank you
officially
for being
because I
here.
was late for pre-production. So
We were talking about that now. Like when you meet somebody, and I said the same thing. I was like, Ben, nice to like finally meet you. I'm like, is this meeting now? Is this the new meeting? Have we
yeah,
met now? Does this
we've
count?
we've
Like
met now.
this is as much as we're ever going to meet at this point with anybody,
Yeah,
right? Like when you
yeah,
see somebody on camera and you're talking to them, that's now the new I met somebody.
right.
It's weird. Very strange. So yeah, so Ben, you'll recognize for those of you that are here all the time is normally in the chat.
Yeah.
The beard is a
I was
little
gonna
fuller.
say,
It's not a
man,
goatee.
that beard is that's full winter beard right there,
Yeah.
man.
No, you
So,
know what that is? That's the I have a job beard.
Yeah,
oh, I
That's what
got you.
that is. That's what right?
All right.
That's what that
yeah.
is.
I
That's
grew it
what that
out
is.
for the job. This was the best thing on my resume.
Right. Okay.
I like it. That's funny.
Well, that's
That's
cool.
funny.
Well, you've been around the channel for a while, so tell us. I guess we got some questions for him, Kevin, and tell about his story as a self-taught dev.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that
Okay.
here in a minute. Before we get to that, we will do
All
that.
right.
But I just want a couple of things to talk about first, just up front, while I let everybody join in. Um, let me see here. So, just a couple of stories we can talk about, just real quick. I want to talk
All right.
about, and we didn't get to talk about these before, but we will do them now. Let me see. We talked about this the other day, real quick, but the hack for the Cyberpunk
Yeah.
Witcher thing, they're now saying they're going to auction off this code.
Okay.
But they're saying it's millions of dollars. Is it worth millions of dollars for the code?
Cyberpunk and Witcher, maybe. Witcher's pretty popular.
But
Cyberpunk has
who's?
got mixed
But
reviews.
okay,
What would you use it for? I don't know. Maybe there's some
exactly.
game engine code in there that someone could
Yeah,
use.
but who's going to buy it and then
I
use it?
know.
Because it's kind of like they're
It's
just going to say,
intellectual
"Well, you
property.
bought my code," and it's like you can't use it because
Yeah.
I own it. It's kind of dumb. I don't understand. It's not. I don't think it's not worth millions.
I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But
I
I thought
wouldn't.
it was kind of interesting.
Buying stolen stuff is kind of shady.
Right. I mean, yeah, exactly. It's like buying. It's like somebody stealing the Mona Lisa, right? And you buying it,
Yeah.
right? Like, what do you do with it?
I don't know.
Like, what? It has no value. You can't sell it.
Well, maybe a little bit more than GameStop, Ram.
I don't know. We haven't checked in on GameStop in a minute. Ben, did you buy any GameStop stock?
No, I'm keeping my head down.
Okay. Yeah. We're not going to talk about who here bought any.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't me. Hold on. What? No. It wasn't me.
I
No,
got some
it
diamond
wasn't me.
hands right here.
Uh, that's funny.
I'm holding
Okay.
it.
One other thing then, which is a little bit more in our wheelhouse, is let me share this real quick. Where's my tab? This one. You see this? IKEA is bringing out gaming furniture in association with ASUS. So the
Oh, they
ASUS
rock,
Republic
too.
of Gaming stuff, they brought out
Yeah.
gaming gear. Get this, they're going to have a $49 gaming chair.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, ooh, okay. So this one here apparently is like $150. So it's like they have a couple of different models, but they're gonna have a $49 one. I'm like, is a $49 gaming chair gonna be any good?
No.
No, is my guess too.
They break down. So if you used any cheap office chair, the pneumatics in the bottom tend to break, and they usually end up being on the floor. That's so when you look at like what I use is Herman Miller, but when you look at Herman Miller chairs, I've had some chairs for like 12 to 15 years.
Yeah,
just
they last a
don't
long
break.
time.
Yeah,
they last a long
handles,
time.
like I've had these other chairs where I've bought in the past where the arms come off, pneumatics quit working.
Yeah.
If it had lumbar support even at $150, then that quits working. So it's just a lot of.
Yeah, and I don't think these do they? You
But
can't tell
cheap.
from the picture, but they're cheap. Exactly,
Yeah.
cheap, and they look kind of cool. This doesn't look bad.
Yeah.
There's a cushion bottom, mesh back. I think it's kind of cool
There
looking.
you go.
But no, like I bought a steel case chair like at the beginning of the
Right.
pandemic, which by the way was like gold trying to find
Right.
one. I had to wait forever to get it. But it was like $1,000. Like it's
Yeah.
not cheap. Like
No.
it's just and it's going to last me a long time.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. There's the back of it. Interesting.
It's trying to look like a Herman Miller body. That's what I have in my office.
It is.
Other office. So.
Yeah. Yeah. But this is $150. I don't know which. I guess there's some other ones. Maybe
So let me
there's
ask you, Ben. Do you invest in chairs? Is that like one of your things, or do you just like I'll sit in whatever? A park bench is okay with me.
For now, I sit in whatever.
Okay.
And the workplace has given me a good chair.
That's good.
But at home, I'm just like, I'll sit in a dining room chair.
Okay, I got
That's
you.
funny.
Just use it. My wife actually built, so she's very handy. She put our dining room table and then our coffee table and built me a standing desk.
Oh, I like it.
Okay, I like that.
So
Yeah.
that works so much better than sitting in
Yeah.
the hard wood chairs.
Yeah.
That's cool.
You
I like
can,
that.
You can. There's a lot of these companies out there now that are allowing you to get just the electronics for a standing desk, and you put
Yeah.
your own tops on them.
Yep.
We use Uplift here at work.
You
which
can
are
buy the Uplift
super
electronics
nice.
too without
But
the
you
top
can just
now.
buy the frame and
Yeah.
and then just put your own top on it and save you a little money.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I looked at one the other day because I thought about replacing my one here for home and the L-shaped ones, but you're talking about $1,600.
They're pretty
Like
expensive.
they are kind of expensive, but they're solid. Like
Commercial
they're
grade. I
super
would
solid.
say
They are
it's-
commercial grade.
Yes,
they
very
are.
commercial.
Yeah,
So
they are.
like,
They actually do a specific commercial frame now too, with extra
Yeah.
support between the legs. So yeah, it's an investment, but it's one of those things. It may be the last desk you'll ever buy.
That's what I think. I've been happy with them. I own a bunch of them now, so 15 or so.
Yep.
So like,
Right.
they've been none of them are broken, and they're really good.
No, that's
So,
true. We haven't had a single one break in the
Uplift,
office.
if you want to sponsor us. Let's
Yes.
That's true. No, we always say good things about Uplift because you're right. Not
Yeah.
one of them broke. None
Yeah.
of them. And they were super easy to put together. Once you'd done one, I put together, I don't know, maybe 5 of the damn things across the
Yeah.
course of when we got
Yeah.
them. And once you've figured it out, it takes a minute because the electronics are all like built into the legs and everything. And it takes a minute.
Yeah.
Once you've done one, it's like you can put them together kind of quick.
Yeah.
It's not IKEA.
I feel like I could put my car on it and it would raise it up. Like I have a bunch of stuff on my desk and it has no
Yeah.
problem.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the motors in them seem really good.
Yeah.
Like I say,
That's
we've
kinda
not
cool.
we've not had one break. So
Yeah.
electronics
cool.
or physically or anything. So
Yeah.
yeah, I like them. It's a good desk. Okay, so that's the 2 things I had to talk about just to
All right. Uplift.
warm
and
us up.
chairs.
Cheers.
And going to go grab some
Cheap
source
chairs.
code. I got to get on the dark web and grab that off real quick.
What will we do with it?
Release, I don't know, something like Warlock.
Yeah,
Coder Foundry's gaming channel.
Yeah, Coder Foundry's Warlock. That's what it's going to be called.
It's a
yeah.
Warlock game. It looks a lot like Witcher, but hey.
That's funny. That's funny. So okay, let's get to you first, man. We'll do Q&A today, and Ben's
All right,
going to stick
cool.
around for Q&A too. So if you have
Cool.
questions for him, throw them in chat.
Yeah.
And we will get to those. But we wanted to invite you on, Ben, because the time that you've been watching us, you've sort of gone through your journey from
Yeah.
not being a developer to being a developer and getting your first job. So, let us know, where did you start and when did you start?
Yeah, so I worked. I worked in ministry for 6 years, and
Okay.
in February of last year, like right before COVID really kind of ruined everything or shut everything down. I had two brother-in-laws who did software development, and so they would always come home and talk about it. And so I started looking into it and teaching myself some through. I started with Codecademy, and so I taught myself from like February to June, and my time was up in June with the church. We agreed to 4 years, and then I was like, well, for me to move forward, with this, either I settle on 2 years of self-teaching, or I go to a boot camp and really just kind of make that leap forward. So somehow around like May, June, I found Coder Foundry on YouTube. I don't remember the connection, but
probably the one coding project video.
Yeah,
that's
that
a lot of people
probably
have had to find us.
Yeah. But the advice that y'all continue to give, and it's great advice, was look what's popular in your area, like what are the jobs where you are. And JavaScript seemed to be pretty big around here, but I also knew one of my friends from college, he's a software engineer at a healthcare company, and so he pointed me to a local boot camp that I didn't even know existed.
Right,
And so I found them, and they've helped. They're so small, but they were connected with an entrepreneur center.
Yeah.
And so the way it used to work was this entrepreneur center had their accelerator program, and they would tell them what they needed to get up and running, and then they would just kind of usher the software engineers from the boot camp into the room.
Oh, that's cool.
And so something like that. But then, COVID changed that. So, but for me, I was like, well, this is what's popular here, and this is what we're kind of seeing the trend in around here is people. The JavaScript community is pretty big, so it was cheap, and I jumped in on it. So,
okay, cool.
Yeah,
and it worked out.
It worked out. So I started boot camp in August. I graduated in mid-November. I had my first part-time job at mid-December, and then I started freelancing. I took on, for an individual, pretty big clients. I started freelancing around the same time, and then between the two, freelancing was just a little bit too big of a monster for me personally. I had a friend who was part of a new tech company, and I was like, so this is how my interview went, or how I got my interview. I was like, this is what I'm doing. This is what this other company had basically offered. I'm looking for a job. Take it or leave it, basically. And so he was like, something about that resonated with him, and so he brought me in, had an interview, and maybe an offer the next day.
Okay, cool.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
When you say JavaScript, you're using like something like React or something like that, or what are you using?
React. We learned Node, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, and then MySQL and AWS.
Okay, and you're using that same stack where you're working at?
Somewhat.
Okay.
So I have somewhat of a mentor here in Charleston. He's been in tech for 30 years or so, and he's been walking me through a lot of things. And so I mentioned Svelte on Tuesday's show,
right?
And so I'm going to try to start so we're still a new company, a newer company. So I'm actually in early enough to be able to set some trends with how we build our software.
That's awesome. That's nice.
Yeah, it's nice. So we'll probably
you're going to switch from React to Svelte.
Svelte, yeah.
Svelte, yeah. So I can't remember it. We were trying to say, am I pronouncing that right? I mispronounce everything. I'm from North Carolina, so we can get away with it.
I'm from South Carolina. It's worse.
It's probably not even Svelte. It's something else. Something totally different. You can look it up.
Okay, and then you use like Node as your back-end language and some kind of MySQL or something. Okay, cool.
Yep.
All right, awesome, man. So, how nervous are you in the job now? Are you feeling like you're stepping in, getting acquainted and that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So I every time I say this, it feels very cliche, but like I love software so much that like coming to work here just felt so natural. like I'm just sitting down doing something I love to do.
Right.
And I think moving from like I would never trade my ministry experience and like how I learned to work with people for anything, but moving from something like that is it's very intangible to this, it was just. I think my wife she could tell you how much she said he just loves this stuff. So for me, it just feels natural to be here. But at the same time, it's given me a level of confidence to like come alongside the team here and say, hey, we need to build this up. There's some stuff we don't have, like we can develop this. So
cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. So you have like I said right before we jumped on, you have the journey that I think a lot of people here want to have. It's like, and it took you what would you say, like 6 months, 8 months? Is that what you said, 6?
Between like from starting boot camp, it took me 6 months. Yep.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Which is what we generally see when we talk about somebody does go to a boot camp. That is sort of a typical window because 3 months for the boot camp part, 3 months for the job part. If you're self-learning, just remember that's going to be longer. If you decide to go the self-learning route, you would have spent probably double that. You would have spent probably a year doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I like that you started out with what I call the basic of the basic, which is Code Academy, which it's just all inline editing on the website. And,
yeah.
How did that help you when you got into your boot camp? Did you do any pre-work or prep or? So you and we try to remove culture shock for people when they start here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It definitely helped get me like familiar with like writing. I started with Python. So and our boot camp was JavaScript. So it definitely helped get me familiar with like what I'm looking at, like understanding the language, like if else statements, the very basic stuff.
Right.
And it was, I knew at a certain point though, I knew, like I always had, I feel like I have these moments, and I don't know if you do anymore, but like these moments where I was like, I can't see how I'm going to get beyond this point, like where I'm at right now. Like with Code Academy, I was like, I can't see how the next step for me, like how I'm going to build a project. Like they give you projects you do in the system, but it never, like as far as like doing it on your local machine or anything like that, it never clicked for me. And so as soon as I joined the boot camp, it was a weekend, and I was like, oh, I've figured out the biggest thing I couldn't a week ago. And then it's like that now with the job, things just click. But
it's definitely a thing, going from what feels kind of abstract, just learning like the concept of something, and you're like, oh, I fully get that. I understand exactly how this loop here works. But then taking that loop and being like, how do I use it in a project? Like, where does that apply in a project? What do I do with that? That's the hardest part, and that's why we suggest building projects. This is your next part in learning, because you have to make it concrete. You have to put it into practice before it'll like sink in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we do that every week here at the boot camp, where we call it FNP here, which is File New Project, which comes from Visual Studio, File New Project. We call it FNP, and we're doing FNPs like all the time, even when we make them smaller in scale, so that they can at least overcome what you said. How does this freaking work? I know how to code a little bit, but how do I get a web page up? What do I do? It's kind of hard. I mean, like unless you've done it like a bunch.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Before we get to some questions, if you want to throw them in chat, if you want to ask Ben any questions or us any questions, we'll totally get to those here in a second. I have one question for you, Ben. Is there a piece of advice you would give to somebody starting out now, like the rest of the guys here in chat? Let's say that they've just starting along this journey. What's the one thing that you would say to them?
Yeah. I think it's probably what we said in like the pre-video. Like if you're starting out, like a year feels so daunting, but I'm already like, I'm here,
Exactly.
Like even if it takes a year and a half, 2 years, like it'll come, like it just feels so big and daunting that it's hard to breathe a little bit. And I think for me, it was like, I was coding all day, every day for boot camp, but at those times where I would just have to be like, I need to just like scoot away and just go walk or something, like just take a break, because I every moment was, I had I could act as if wasn't coding every minute of the day, then I wasn't going to make it, just taking a breath.
Yeah, I like that.
Definitely important.
I think people underestimate the grit factor. The other thing that people, especially senior devs, when I interact with people online, they don't understand the value of things like self-learning at boot camp, and they're constantly pushing CS degrees, which I think is fine, but they don't teach you a lot of coding in those things. So like when you ask them, what do you do for a living? And they're like, well, I'm learning React. Well, name a computer science course that I could go learn React at. You know, it's just like, it's zero.
Yeah.
And so like everybody in the entire industry is self-taught. Like everything we're learning right now, we have to teach ourselves to do. Whether if you're picking up Svelte this week or next week, I mean, there's very few articles that you're gonna like be able to go grab and make it exactly what you want to build. You have to teach yourself how to do it. And I think that should give a lot of hope to a lot of people out there and saying, well, if everyone's self-taught, well, I can teach myself. And you can use like tutorials and boot camps and everything like that. But I would imagine even in your boot camp, there's still a lot of self-learning going on in there. Wouldn't you say that's true?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right.
I mean, every week, I mean, I don't know if Kevin ever told you this, but there was even a moment in my boot camp where I messaged Kevin and I was like, hey, I'm thinking about switching boot camps.
you emailed me about that too.
Yeah, because I was just like, I was just doubting the the process.
Right.
But I stuck with it. Kind of going back to even what y'all said, the advice on what's like. I looked at the boot camp's track record and it was there, and so I was like, well, this works. So
exactly, you've got to sort of you do have to trust the process. That's what we say all the time. It's like there's going to be a point, because everybody has. There's going to be a point where you think this isn't going to work, or it's like, what am I doing here? Like, why am I paying for this, or I'm just never going to get this, or you're going to have some moment where you're going to doubt that it's going to work out for you. Everybody has it.
Yeah, because it is. I mean, it's a big risk, or it feels like a big risk to.
Right.
Yeah.
For me, it was $10,000. $10,000 is just like.
Right.
Right.
But then you look back on it and you say, I could have spent 120 at a computer science.
Yeah. Yeah.
Over 4 years. I mean, so like it's actually a pretty good deal when it works out.
Oh yeah, I've had family friends in the process who asked me. They're like, "So how much does this cost? And what can you make out of it?" They're like,
"Yeah,
why would I ever send my kid to college?"
Right.
Well, I think a lot of people are trying to figure that out. Like, and it's just not boot camps. It's just anything. Like, is college?
Yeah.
I mean, there's some value there. I don't want any comments like I'm like against college. I have a degree from college, but if you want to learn how to code, I think self-taught or boot camp is probably the best route to roll.
Yeah.
And you can get a CS degree and then come to a boot camp. You can do that too. We see a lot of people doing that.
Also, don't underestimate the fact that you have the grit factor, and you have the skills, whether they be technical or soft skills or whatever it is, to push yourself through that. Not everybody has that, and not everybody handles that part very well. Some people we'll see come to our boot camp that are just like, they want to show up and get the matrix injection, right? They just want to show up one day, we inject them, and they walk out tomorrow a developer. They don't want to put in any work. And it's kind of difficult to explain to some people that, like, hey, even going the boot camp route and it's accelerating the entire process, it's definitely not easy. It makes it faster. It doesn't necessarily make it easier.
Yeah. And repetition is what you have to really do. So like you get shown something, then you got to repeat it, and then keep repeating it and keep doing it until that way of doing things is in your brain.
Yeah.
So. And some on the uptake, some it just takes longer to get to that point.
Right. Yeah. Okay, let's do some questions then. Let's see here. Wow, can I pronounce that? Turkistonamin? Sorry. Hold on. Yeah. Turkistonamin. I'm going to go with that. Turk for sure.
Turk. What's up,
Your
Turk?
name is now Turk. Sorry if I'm really apologize if I butchered it. I really do genuinely apologize. Yeah. What kind of resources do you recommend for learning JavaScript? How did you learn JavaScript? You obviously did the boot camp. Did you use any outside resources?
So during the boot camp, so I'm going to make a plug for another YouTube channel.
Go for it.
That's fine. Yeah, we go for it. We're about all the time.
Web Dev Simplified.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, he explains like JavaScript concepts that are huge in like 8 minutes, which was like for me during boot camp. If I was really struggling with something, I would go to his video and it would help me understand it like quicker so that I could start working on it. And then most of it was just like using it. I just had to use it.
Right. Yeah, I think the first time you see arrow functions, it's like super confusing. Like what is this stuff going on? You know, like you just have to like do it a lot and then you understand it. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And y'all actually, on your channel, I heard about the GitHub Student Developer Pack. This was months ago. This was probably summer of last year.
Yeah,
but
there's some good discounts in there, right?
Yeah, there was one to Front End Masters. You can get 6 months free on Front End Masters, and it was they had great resources for JavaScript too.
Right. Yeah, we had Jen in here. She's done some stuff on Front End Masters. She's a good CSS person.
So there you go, Turk. Hopefully those two resources will help you out. Thanks for the question.
Yeah.
Gobinath so I'm new, learning React, but you say build a bug tracker as your project to land a job. But how does a beginner do that? How many hours will it take to build? And is it worth my time?
Well, it's number one, for sure it's worth your time because like the thing about the bug tracker is it's not a magic project. But the fundamentals of things you have to know to be able to build it is where the magic lies. And so you have to learn how to communicate to a database. So like if you're learning React, then you need to know how to set up Node or your backends to connect to a database, something like that. And so that's the big thing. The other thing that the bug tracker does is implement security. So in the C# world, we're using identity with JavaScript or React. You may have to use something like JavaScript tokens or learn how to secure your site somehow. And so those are the two things that we really are pushing out with that project. Then the third part of it that makes it better is when you show a bug tracker to an employer, they kind of know what it's supposed to do. And so they can like, hey, that's kind of cool. I like that. This is how ours works, that kind of way. So, but if you show them an unknown project, they have to figure out if it's good or not. Does it function? What's it do? Whereas a bug tracker, you can just get down to the business and they can look at your tickets or your histories, your login, how are you tracking this, how are you doing that. So it makes the conversation a lot easier. That's why, so yes, learn how to do it. So maybe you have to take a tutorial that shows you how to access a database from React and how to secure your React sites, routing, and how do you like show different views and those kind of things. So.
And I'm assuming based on that question too, you've seen the video. There's also a demo video as well. If you haven't seen that one, go look at that one as well. Just go to our channel, look at bug tracker demo. You can see a demo of a project as well, so it can show you kind of what it's supposed to do. Yeah. So it's not overly confusing. And how many hours it will take you depends.
For us, we spend in a 12-week course. We're going to spend 3 weeks. So times 50, 150 hours.
Okay,
but that's right.
But that's with obviously that's with instruction. That's with like hand holding to a certain extent. So gives you a ballpark.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of time.
Did you ever build a bug tracker, Ben? Did you build a bug tracker at all, or no?
I have not.
Okay.
I was going to build it for my final project, but I went with the invoice thing.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So you built an invoice project as your final one?
I did, and and you know I'm still working on getting it live. But the funny thing with my portfolio was like I wanted my portfolio to like build a portfolio. Go Banath. But my portfolio was I wanted to like do animation stuff, and that was that first little section of it was like how I got my part-time job. They were just mesmerized by it.
Okay, what'd you use for animations and stuff?
A third-party library called GreenSock, GSAP. Yeah.
That's what everyone uses. So I haven't really messed with it a lot. It's just a lot of there's a whole new thing about GreenSock and all that stuff. So
and that's cool. So you leveraged an existing tool and used it on your portfolio, and somebody's like, "Wow, that's cool," and that's like, "I like this guy." See, it shows you like you didn't have to create from scratch.
Yeah,
but I do like the invoice.
Portfolio.
Yeah.
Sorry,
You go ahead. You use your portfolio. What was that?
I was going to say I used y'all's portfolio video as like a template for most of it. So
Okay. Great.
Awesome.
yeah.
Nice. So I think that's work. We went through the different segments and the different sections, and the reason we have those sections is because when we talk to employers, we figure out what they're looking at. What did you see? What did you pay attention to? And the reason, one of the big things that we've started this year was we break out JavaScript, kind of like smaller projects, and put the bigger projects up front, because I had someone that literally said that, they thought reverse a string really wasn't big enough for them to do it. I'm like, "Would you see the bug tracker?" And I'm like, "No." And then
Yeah.
we realized they were in a carousel, and it was like the 8th project down. And so, that's another thing is highlight your best work at the top of the portfolio.
Yeah, it's like the don't bury the lead, right? Like
bury the
stick
lead,
your
man.
stick your best thing
Yeah.
up front.
Yeah. So,
Okay, let's get another question. Stefan, thank you for the question. Wants to know: do I need to learn C# first, then Java, or C first, then Java? Sorry,
I think you need to learn one or the other.
I think that might be
So-
like a common misconception kind of question. Like, do I need to know this like low level
No.
thing first before I learn Java?
No. And so and what we always say is, if you're going to build stuff, figure out what you want to build. So if you're going to say, I'm going to build web dev, then learning C is a waste of time, because you're not going to build websites with C or C++. But you can build them with Java and C# and obviously React and Node and all those other things. So like, figure out what you want to build, then pick the stack that you're going to build it with. If you're going to build websites, learn Java. If you're going to build mobile applications, maybe it's Java or Kotlin or something like that.
So you mentioned learning Svelte here coming up. Is that the first thing that you've learned post bootcamp, or did you have to pick up something for the job?
No, I started with. I didn't have to pick up anything for the job. I started with Next.js as a framework over React, and that's what I built my blog with. And the blog was one of the things that drove most interest, because people just see you have your own place where you're writing stuff.
Right.
And then like to Stefan.
Yep.
His
Stefan.
question, I think even like I mentioned earlier, at some point thinking about changing boot camps, like I think choosing the language and sticking with it is like more important than, like you'll probably question it at some point, but like choose Java
Right.
to learn web development and just stick with it.
And apply for jobs where they're using Java.
Yeah.
I love that your blog was a big driver too. So that's something that we do at the bootcamp too. We encourage people to blog about stuff. It's one of those points where we say you can get inbound leads from a blog. If you're writing about the technology, people are going to see that and they're gonna be like, oh, okay, this guy like has a genuine interest in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That came up in my interview. The guy who brought me in for the interview told everyone else at the table, this guy writes about software.
See, that's awesome. See, everybody.
I'm not crazy,
go to
Kevin.
blog. Well, we know because we've seen very successful people
I know.
who have used the exact same thing and used either blogging or social media or whatever to build credibility. It 100% works. And
So that's
and
good.
it's a-
And we try to convince every student to write blogs, and it's hard because I'm not a writer, so we give them writing prompts, 2 per week, and they're supposed to like turn those into blogs, and then you got to post that blog site. You got to get it up to where people can read it. So it's a lot of work, but it does pay off for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get another next question here. Osama wants to know, I want to start my career in database. What should I do?
So learn SQL. That's the language that you're going to be doing. And then inside that, do you want to develop databases or do you want to be an administrator? So a lot of times in small companies, they're both one and the same. And sometimes it's full stack and DBA and stored procedure creator. I don't know. You're in a small company, Ben. You're probably doing it all.
Yeah.
But I would say the SQL is the primary thing you're going to learn how to do. And then after that, you want to build into some kind of knowledge of like a reporting thing like Power BI or something like that, where you can demonstrate that you can push data into things so they can see it and consume it. So that's what I would do.
Okay,
All right,
cool.
hope
Hope
that
that helps. funny. And 17 give up on trading GameStop shares instead. We're gonna become day traders on these meme stocks. That's the new YouTuber, isn't it? That's the new kids always want to be a YouTuber. Now it's gonna be like I want to be a day trader in meme stocks.
A day trader in meme stocks.
What do you want to be when you grow up? Like
So,
Troy has a great question for you here. Ben, so did your family members who are software devs help you out throughout your journey?
So somewhat. Both of them, my brother-in-laws, are in different places. So they would come home and we would talk about stuff, which was helpful. From time to time, I'd ask them questions, like especially early on, like functions and just setting up big calls, all that kind of stuff, APIs, whatever. But for the most part, they were just kind of there. We talked about it, but we never like practiced it together.
okay, that's good enough though.
Yeah, it was helpful.
Yeah. So now Thanksgiving dinners has got to be interesting. You guys get together, all you're all talking about code, and mom's like, "Can we talk about something else?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
One of them joked. One of them was joking and said that all three of us should start our own company.
That's it, man.
Yeah. Someone's gonna be like, it's Thanksgiving's gonna be like, the partners are gonna be like, man, there's geeks over in the corner talking about code again. Like,
That's it, man.
Sharing all the memes from your Discord.
Exactly.
That's it,
yeah, exactly. That's funny. Well, thanks for the question, Troy. Turk has another question. Do you think self-learning is bad for a 16-year-old boy?
Maverick, isn't he 16?
Yeah, he is.
Maverick's young too. Yeah, I would say it's a great thing.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's not. It's probably the only thing you can do because you can't really go to college. You can't go to a boot camp.
Right.
No, the more you can pick up, the better.
Yeah, I think so.
So no, keep doing it.
But I was going back to Thanksgiving dinner jokes, I asked my mom at Thanksgiving dinner, or actually at dinner last weekend, like, where did that meatloaf inherit from? And none of my people laughed. I thought it was funny.
I like it. You're dropping like coding jokes at the table, and they're like, "What is he talking about?"
Yeah, I went to base class for this meatloaf. What is it? So.
Your mom's like, beef? Like, I don't know. What do you mean? What do you?
I don't think it's beef, Mom.
That's funny.
She's not watching. She's only on Facebook. So
She's only on Facebook. She's not even there because your brother's not on. So it doesn't really matter.
Right.
Okay,
So.
Quix has a question. Favorite C# 8/9 feature?
Oh, okay. So there's a lot of stuff out there now with record sets, which is kind of cool. And then there's what I like, but I came from the VB world, is introducing for more kind of like easier selectors, or for like and or now words, things like that.
What were they before? You had to use the
double
icons, the
and,
double. Okay,
yeah, like you'll see in the other C style languages. So they're bringing those kind of I don't know, make it more readable. It's like it's beginning to look a lot like VB in some cases. So I don't know. There's a lot of stuff out there for C#. It's super wide, like any language.
Yep. Okay, let's go to the next one here. Eric Bruce, thanks for the question. This is going to be for you, Ben. What were your portfolio projects?
So the biggest one for me at the end of boot camp was, so we had I know Bobby's take on group projects. I remember we had the conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
About it. But we did a group project, which we ended up choosing a good project to do. We built like a component library for React components. And then I built an invoice manager software. My dad actually asked me for that because he still used Microsoft Works. And so,
wow,
that's
he's the guy. That's they didn't cut it off until he couldn't.
Windows 95. He's still on Windows 95.
He had the 2003 Dell computer. He'd still run every day to make his invoices.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then after boot camp was when I made my blog. That was like my first thing that I did, was my portfolio and my blog. Ideally, I would want to do like not to just follow a Coder Foundry's structure for a boot camp, but I would have wanted to do like portfolio throughout the boot camp and then work on the blog as well. But yeah, it turned out great.
Yeah. So like, let me ask you a little bit about invoicing. So like, what did that do? I like that project. I think that's a really good project. Tell them
Yeah.
what it did.
So in its current form, it like you can sign up. So I use AWS Cognito, and so that the credentials are stored and all that kind of stuff. And MySQL for database for storing all the different invoices. But you could put in your information. You could put in customers, which stored in customer database. And then when you create an invoice, you have your whole list of customers to select from or search for. And then you can fill in like a table of like your different items and quantity and cost. And so it's not like a piece of paper filling it out everywhere. It's two different, it's one form. And as soon as you put that in, because you've already entered in your customer info and then your info, it will automatically create an invoice for you, and it'll pop up in a new tab, and you can like download it and print it. And so it's got all the information on it. And then the other things that I'm still working on adding for him is just for my, like, I want it to look better. So I want it to have, there's a table where it shows all of your invoices, just kind of like lists some key parts of an invoice, and then it has a way to click and email it to the client. I want to add the option for them to sign in and pay it. So these are things that
are little Stripe interaction. I like that.
Yeah. So if you're thinking about doing an invoice thing, these are things to think about too.
Yeah.
Like signing in and paying it, and then having graphs and charts. I have some data metrics, like who your most popular customer is and how much money you've done in invoices, whatnot.
Who's the deadbeat? Who owes you all the money?
Yeah.
This is a good app.
Report.
This is a good app because this fits a lot of the criteria that we talk about. When you go back and if you watch the one coding project video, you could literally switch out the bug tracker for your invoice system. Yeah. That's why it works.
Because authorization and security, it's got a database and it solves a business problem. I mean, and it's a well-recognized business problem. So if you're interviewing somewhere at a company, they have invoicing somehow, some way. So maybe they're not attached to accounting per se, but if you're doing a small company, the guy is figuring out how to send invoices out. So,
and they're all stored on like in an Amazon S3 bucket, so you can view them whenever you need. So it's they're always there.
All right, and so I guess you're storing them as they're created, and so that they can't be altered or edited.
Correct. So that's an update I want to add too. Like if they pull it, then you can have like another little pop-up box that once they update it, then it changes it. Either deletes the old one and puts in a new one or something like that.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And store them as PDFs, I guess, or is that what it's doing?
Yep, PDFs.
All right, cool. Awesome.
I like it. That's
pretty cool. Nice question, Eric. Thanks.
Definitely, yeah. Hemanth, I hope I got your name correctly, but he's saying we're old. I mean, I'm just going to put that up there, but I mean, thanks. Is that a compliment or is that an insult? I'm not sure.
I don't know what to
We're going to take it as a compliment. Thought that was funny. Here you go. Ryan wants to know, how do you keep progressing once you get your first dev job, especially if most tutorials are for beginners? Good question, Ryan.
So what are you going to do?
Well, you're already learning Svelte, right?
Yeah, you're just...
So, I mean, I think so this is probably depending on company. You're usually surrounded by those who are ahead of you if you get a job on a team. So there should be some sort of mentoring set up. But for me, I see the things that I know I have a deficit in, and so I've just asked the company like, hey, can you invest in these things for me to learn so that I can really step up and do well. So, and most of the time, like, it kind of goes back to one of those things that they just don't know what they don't know. And so if you ask, they'll probably consider it, especially as a developer. You're kind of the machine that keeps their organization going. So
most of the time, of the time, one of the things that I talk to a lot of business owners, and one of the things that comes up is the quicker you figure out you're a software company, the better you're going to be.
Yep.
Especially for some of these companies that are running, and you believe it or not, man, software as a service. But when you talk to these owners, they think that they're a sales organization. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, you're a software company.
Yeah.
And so, they'll have like, 8 salespeople and 1 developer, and then the developer quits. And they're like, what do I do now? I'm like, well,
You remember you're a
had
software
2.
company. Yeah, exactly.
So like, so let me ask you a question. You said you got a deficit. Not to put you all out there. What are you learning? What's the thing that you think that you need to learn now? Like, what are you trying to figure out now how to do now?
Yeah, so some of it's mostly to just try to catch up with like the work that the company's taken on, and so they've bought us like subscription to it's called a Cloud Guru to just learn, like to really dive into AWS and learn it and get certified. So some of it's AWS stuff because there's just so much.
There's so much crap on that thing, man.
So we're just trying to learn like what we need to know, and luckily they have like developer tracks, that kind of thing.
Right.
Like so a lot of it's AWS, and then some of it is for the company developing their like proprietary stuff, like software that they show to clients and say we can do this for you and whatnot. So that's why I'm looking into Svelte. And you brought on at some point, I think, Wes Boss, and he does the Syntax podcast with Scott Tolinsky.
Yeah.
And so Scott Tolinsky has Level Up tutorials, which he covers everything. Like if you want to pay for a subscription to something to learn like React stuff or anything JavaScript, go to him. But they bought me a subscription to him to learn like some of those things too.
Nice. All right. Awesome.
That's very cool.
That's cool.
How do you learn something new, Bobby? Because you learn new stuff all the time.
Oh, I just read the documentation now.
So you just at a point where you're just comfortable with the stuff and you're just like, let me just take a quick look at this thing. You read the documentation and then that's it.
Yeah.
you get hands-on though, right? I've definitely seen you hands-on with stuff. You're like,
so the problem with me in tutorials, here's the reason I never buy a tutorial, because like I'll watch the tutorial, but like I'm trying to do something specific, and like I'm in it in the first 10 minutes, and then I'm already trying to build my thing, and I'm like, I don't need this. Like, just like I'm not even going to listen to you anymore because I'm trying to build this certain thing. So I have a goal, or really like that's why I say build projects, because like my projects, the things I'm trying to build, drive what I'm trying to learn, and it's really hard to find a tutorial on like specifically,
Right, you're doing one very specific thing.
How to make a grungy face in Photoshop for a movie poster tutorial.
Right, right.
So like, just different things like JWT tokens. Like I was doing that with Blazor and just trying to figure out like how does that work. Just reading the MSDN documentation. So it's not always the best or the funnest, but like usually get there. Usually works.
Yeah,
cool. Hey, look, Alex says he needs to grow a beard so he can be a senior dev.
That's right, man.
Alex, you you did get another job, didn't you? So you can. It's only okay when you have a job. It's just this thing. There's this thing. When you don't have a job, you don't have a beard. When you're a dev, you can have a beard. That's the general rule.
Just invest in beard balm.
Right. Is that it? Yeah, it's got to be good, right?
It's got to look good. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's an interesting question. Interactive DNA. My question is, why Java still exists today? He's never found one single application done in Java that is stable.
I don't think that's true at all. I think that's a false argument. So it exists because it's in high in use.
Yeah, you'd be surprised.
Like C# is. It's been around for a long time. A lot of people are writing things with it. Java runs like on a lot of the set-top devices. It runs in websites. It runs everywhere. I don't use it, but like that doesn't mean that it's not used.
So there are lots of people that do, and look at job postings. There are a lot of job postings for it.
So they're using, build websites, build set-top boxes. Like if you have your Blu-ray player, of course streaming's taken over, but like a Blu-ray player typically will run Java.
I think a lot of TVs do too, right?
Yeah, TVs
TV OSs.
and if you have like a cable box or whatever, it's typically Java's running in that thing. And then that could change over the years, but like it still exists because there's millions and millions of lines of code, people using it. So,
Mohammed wants to know what he missed. Well, let's do a full recap. We got 54 minutes in. Let's just go back over. No, I don't know. You can go back and watch it, Mohammed. Actually, this brings up a good point. the videos, what I'm doing with them now is the day after, or maybe 1 or 2 days after, depending on how quick I can get to these. I'm repurposing the videos a little bit, so I'm adding in chapters. So if you guys come back and watch them after the fact, you'll be able to see chapters. So a lot of the questions that get asked, I'm going to chapterize them, so you can jump around the video a little bit better versus having to watch the whole thing. So look out for that on some of our videos coming out. This one will probably be like that tomorrow. I won't be able to get to it today.
But Mohammed, I was late. GameStop is down, and Ben's our guest.
That's it. That is all you need to know. Let's see. Lord of Sim wants to know: have you guys heard of any law enforcement guys changing careers to software dev? A friend is asking.
Had a detective come through the program.
Yep, we've had a couple.
And he ended up working at one of the large law enforcement in-car providers that's here in Greensboro that they make the in-car stuff for cops and so like that and first responders.
He took a different job first, right? He did something else. He did a few things first, didn't he? He did a few things first, then went back to that, leveraged his experience as being a law enforcement officer. He was a what do you call it? Like a homicide detective. He wasn't just a cop, he was a homicide detective.
Antonio Rayner is our director of education here at Coder Foundry, was a police officer in a former life.
Yep.
Little known fact.
Yep. So if you ever come to the boot camp,
until he puts on those Ray-Ban glasses and he looks like he's going to give you a ticket.
He does. He does. If you ever get to meet Antonio, whether it be virtually or in person, he has some really great cop stories.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah, it's good. Oh, look. Weather update from Ryan for Jamaica.
Okay. Oh.
Ryan, if you keep coming back here doing this
I like it, man.
This is not going to end well.
I like it. So a perfect day for the beach and lots of rum.
You want to know what it is here? Like Jamaica. I hear it actually. That's why it's kind of dark in here. It's raining.
I heard I didn't know if you could hear the thunder.
Oh yeah, I noticed on my watch a second ago that was like lightning's close. It's like
it was thundering here where I'm at. So that's kind of cool. What's the weather? You got to give us a better weather report, Ryan, if you want to be on the show. We need temperature, stuff like that. So
I don't know. Sunny on the beach with rum sounds pretty good to me.
77? Is it 77? Is it 92? We want to know.
Oh, that's funny. Okay.
Cool.
Tendai, thank you for the question. Wants to know which take on Java versus C# for a new developer. Which one would you choose?
You're asking me because I have a .NET bootcamp. We teach C#, so I'm going to tell you what my opinion is. You should learn C# if you're picking between those two. But look at your area to see if there's roles for you available that you can tack onto, and then what are those roles doing? Are they building desktop devices? Are they building desktop applications? Are they building mobile apps? Are they building web apps? And so look in that area and look what's around you, and then you'll pick one. But you can't go wrong with C# or Java, really. I mean, they're both one of the two most primary used server-side languages for websites anyway. So, but if it was me, you're asking me, I'd pick C#. And stick with it. Like Ben said, stick with it. Don't be changing around a lot, just stick with it.
And actually, we have a video coming out tomorrow that I'm editing right now about why you should choose C#.
Yeah, exactly.
I was literally editing it right before this, so that will be out tomorrow. Let me see.
All right, let's ask Ben a question. Let's get Ben a question. So, what's up? Should we get Ben a question?
Yeah, I'm looking. Try to do a non-Coder Foundry one for a second.
Okay.
Here you go. You have an experience with this, Ben? What kind of database is he using? NoSQL or Relational?
Yeah, so I've used Mongo, which NoSQL database, MongoDB, and then right now we're using a service that uses CouchDB, and so. But most of my experience has been with MySQL and running it like with Amazon RDS. Mm-hmm. So
what do you find is your reason why you would pick Couch over like a relational database? Like, why would you pick something like NoSQL? What's your use case?
I think for in our current like what we're currently working on, it's a lot quicker for us. Like it doesn't require as much oversight with the service that we're using to connect to the database. But as far as like whenever like in boot camp, we started off with Mongo and then moved to MySQL. And I think in boot camp, I would have preferred, like at the end, I would say I would prefer MySQL just because as I got more familiar with it, it was easy to start going into, MySQL Workbench and changing stuff around and manipulate stuff. Whereas Mongo, like a lot of things are just really abstracted from me. And I would run into these moments where I was like, I want to know what this is doing, but I can't, and I have to be okay with not knowing.
I have to be okay with it.
Yeah, that's actually a skill. Being okay with not understanding the whole thing is like it's a skill, because some people, trust me, we've had people in the boot camp cannot get past that.
Yeah,
they cannot get past that.
Some things, especially when you're early on, you've got to accept there's some black boxes out there that just do stuff.
Yep.
And in order for you to get to the point to where you can start asking questions about that, you need to just accept the black box and say, all right, it's going to like do this.
Right.
And it's funny that they'll ask certain questions, but then no one's going to ask, what's the underpinning of the fetch API in JavaScript? No one asks that. They just use it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But they for some reason, want to know, like, what's the NED framework doing? What SQL is it generating? I'm like, dude, just use it.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't understand. So like, just use it for now.
Yeah.
Just get
if I
good
made a call to
it.
my database and it was in there, I was happy.
Yeah, exactly. We're not going to write. You're never going to write your own ORM. There's a million of these out there. So like, you're going to use one of those. So anyway, kind of funny.
Okay. But at the top of the hour, let's do one more question.
For the road.
I want to be respectful of your time here. So Quick says, how common is it for universities to teach C# in the US? Just being curious because my non-US one had at least 3 courses which involve C#. Wow, that's awesome.
I don't know. I haven't looked at everyone's program, so I'd have to just go look.
Anytime that I've seen anything, it's not C#. It's Python is very popular, and not because it's the right answer. It's because it's seen to be the easiest thing to learn.
Personally, I think it's what the instructors at the school know, and that's what they teach.
That's true.
And they're doing data science-y type things. I've seen a technical community college around here will teach C#. So I've seen that.
Okay.
I'm not sure what NC State here, which would be one of the best state schools that we have in computer science programs. I'm not sure what they're teaching. I'd have to go look.
Yeah, I did PHP when I did my college course, so
all right,
which wasn't that long ago.
It is, Kevin. You're old. Remember they told us that.
Yeah, I forgot.
It was a long time ago.
It's a long time ago. Parallax. One quick thing: parallax scrolling, hot or not?
It's hot right now. I mean, yeah, it's kind of cool. I mean, but
We reckon Ben like it or not?
I haven't used it, so.
Okay.
So it's when you have that image behind your stuff and the thing scrolls and the image kind of moves with the scroll.
Yeah.
And you got like a see-through
Seems
window.
popular. I've seen bad versions of it. A lot of times when you have which just goes for any kind of design, right?
Yeah.
If you have like a non-contrast like text over a busy image, like it parallaxed or not, it still looks terrible.
Right.
Doesn't matter if it moves or not.
Yeah.
There you go. Look, it's teaching Python intro programming,
Nice.
just to validate my point.
Yeah. Cool. Well, Ben, thanks for coming in, and appreciate the time you spent with us. Thanks for watching the channel, and glad to meet you finally. So I know we've talked a little bit offline some.
Yeah.
When you were going through your boot camp crisis.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, and thanks for.
I
mean, if I can tell anybody on the channel just to listen to y'all's advice moving in, they'll find a job eventually. So.
All right. They will, and just keep coding and keep doing it, and you're going to be fine. And I think you've encouraged a lot of people here today to keep doing it.
Good.
Because you made it happen.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right, cool.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thanks.
Cool.
So
we'll be back on... Yeah, definitely. Ben's welcome back anytime. We'll be back on Tuesday live. We do have a video tomorrow again about C#. So, totally in our wheelhouse.
Yeah.
So, yeah, look forward to that tomorrow.
See you on Tuesday. Good luck. Keep coding, guys. See you.
See you guys later.